Good morning and happy Thanksgiving. Cowboy Roy Rogers here with some clues instead of news. First, a little carpentry and wallboard going up. I want to touch on some other topics that are ongoing. But this here, there's a little video showing where I already had to do repairs in the floor. Somewhere right about here, there had been a hole where the board busted because they were just antique and weak. This back section was added to the house over 60 years ago, and at least part of it was used materials at that time, so who knows, maybe 90-year-old wood that finally got weak and brittle from moisture and dry and hot and cold and whatever. This entire floor now has new lumber under this section and then sealer in the grooves of the tongue and groove boards. Then over here, even the closet has plywood in it. There's a curtain off the window. Obviously, sheetrock work still needs done. This other side here is got the new baseboard, where I figured out, because of the difference of your real 2x4s and your modern 2x4s, we got the little 19/32 plywood shims from some of this same material that's now screwed down over the floor. Obviously, I'm going to have to make up some wood filler with the sawdust from cutting the lumber that is swept up into a container. Put some of that in some wood glue to fill in gaps and rough spots in the lumber. That board's all the way underneath. I have somewhere here, I have a board to cut and fill in this, so there's something to anchor the drywall to, the sheetrock, just like I did over here. I happened to find laying around a 2x4 that had already been cut length, so I cut the little tip off, screwed it in this way because toe nailing in didn't work right. There was a screw sticking out. It drew the board in too far, or so forth like that. So just ran 3.5-inch deck screws in, same kind of screws that were used underneath to add a lot of support to this foundation underneath the new boards, and to support little 2x6s underneath the original flooring to help support it up before laying down this 19/32 plywood, which should have been smoother, but oh well, it's going to get something over the top, maybe some cheap flooring. And as you see, yes, drywall's already hung. I've got to go up here right now and remove 2 more little holders for window shades, and then cut and put in a piece of sheetrock here. This has got a sloped ceiling because it's a sloped roof on this add-on, and so I even took and crammed some sheetrock up there above the boards, insulation up above there to try to seal in that space a little bit better and such, so that it can be warm. These crummy old windows, I'm going to have to do something to get them to seal better. I walk in this cold room this morning, I can feel the air coming in. So, oh yeah, it's got some slack. Maybe a thin weather strip underneath, I don't know. There's some on my bedroom that they don't even close square, so I'm going to clean them up and put fresh duct tape again. This thing, AC unit, these covers there, hey look, there's a doggy. These covers I did a little video where I made these to keep the stupid cats from jumping up on top and waking folks up, but also from filling the inside of the AC unit with dirt off of themselves. And need to cover those or do something to block the cold out. But as dirty as it got when it was hotter, working on the floor and sucked up all the dust, gotta vacuum it out or even remove it and clean it. See how nasty that is. It's been off for weeks now. Still gonna have to do a little something here where moisture caused by the AC unit, I don't know, from rainwater or the unit sweating, this has got to be done. But thankfully all that lumber underneath is okay. I thought it was something to do with the window, but probably not. This old house is in rough shape, and I'm gradually making it much better, doing lots of improvements. But you know what? I'm blessed to have a home. Yeah, I got a long time to pay for the mortgage, but I've got a home, and we've got our fellow Americans in North Carolina and Tennessee that don't even have a pot to piss in, so to speak. And lots of folks have donated food, water, clothing, and heaters, you know, especially propane heaters and propane bottles and so forth, donated tents to them, and then have started building, either taking portable sheds, you know, donated by companies or sold just at cost to the other organizations that have been receiving donations from great folks all over the country in order to turn them into tiny homes. And in North Carolina, they're not meeting codes. So the counties are intending to go inspect and tell these people that they can't live in these, that it's not big enough for the number of people, it's not anchored to the ground, it's not connected to a septic system. Well, the One Question organization is automatically building them with compost toilets, which is what needs to be done in this situation anyway. They're off grid. It's been 2 months. Most of the people out in the mountains that had municipal water supply don't have water still, or are just getting it. A lot of them still don't have electricity because the power lines infrastructure is so torn down and washed out, as much of the roads are still washed out and so forth. Gentry and Sons Trucking and other trucking companies were hauling in tractor trailers that are set up as apartments. I think there's multiple apartments in each one, maybe 2 or 3 or something. It looked like by the number of doors. Reportedly, those are not being used for survivors of that flooding from Hurricane Helene being pushed into the area with radar units shown by Dane Whittington and others. But instead, they're apparently being used for FEMA employees, for contract workers that are being paid there, and also for illegal aliens that have been hired to clean the debris, the brush and so forth, and logs out of the riverbeds, while doing basically nothing for the people, other than there's rumors that the counties are going in and getting the damn so-called child protective services and getting children because they're having to live in tents that have ice on the inside because they've already had freezing weather for weeks. They've already had snow for weeks. These people need help, folks. But also, everybody in Tennessee and North Carolina needs to speak up to their legislators. Those that can need to go to their capital and speak up in person to their governors and their legislators there, and tell them that if it is insisted that the state regulations be followed in order for these people to have some actual shelter where they don't freeze to death and have their little babies and children and all the elderly freeze to death, that they need to change the regulations, or they need to give an exemption or do something. This is outrageous. You got people trying to donate and bring in travel trailers because the things have to have axles and tires underneath them or something, or they have to be anchored down and this and that. And you know what? Survival's a damn sight more important than some bullshit regulation. Majority of these areas are now considered flood zones because of 1,000-year flood situation worse than the event in 1916. And I don't mean worse just because it's more value by property damage and more lives lost, because things are just ridiculously expensive now and there were a lot more people. I mean because it just was flat worse. And it wasn't even mud flows predominantly, it's debris flow. The rocks and trees and everything coming down out of the mountains just ripped new ravines in places that what they called the river was only a foot deep and a few foot wide or something, is now more like what I would know of a river being, the main bed of it 5 feet deep and 20 foot wide or something, and with the floodplain 100 feet or 30 meters, whatever. And some areas in places that just had a dry creek, there's signs that the water had been 40 feet deep or like 35 meters deep. Or 32 meters, I guess. This is a acquisition of land for mining of the resources. The folks won't sell their generational land where their families have been there for 100, 200 years. So storms were pushed in to wipe out folks. And a lot of those folks that supposedly there's only a few hundred people confirmed deceased, well, if they're still under the debris piles and still under the silt and the sand that washed down out of mining operations, because the area normally doesn't actually have sand, it's confirmed that there's bodies by the odor coming up from everywhere. And yes, it can be animals also. People need to keep that in mind. But there are thousands and thousands of people missing, possibly over 10,000, not a few hundred, throughout that entire region. And the soil, water, and structures, the wood, like this stuff right here. Any of it that got that contaminated water, where different assortment of chemicals from, for example, the vinyl chloride from a PVC plant in the region, similar to the crap that was intentionally dumped out and set on fire sorry, I don't remember the other state, even though I got so much information in a playlist on it right now. But anyway, and stuff from a nuclear storage facility for, the uranium for nuclear power plants and stuff, and also for munitions plant. There's area there where the used uranium was used to put onto military arms. the kind of stuff that the Russian government has been complaining that's being shot into their land by the Ukrainians, all supplied by NATO. That kind of crap was being manufactured in that region, and their stuff spilled out everywhere. There's still barrels and totes missing. There's some barrel was found, supposedly just a test or practice barrel or some crap, upstream of a river, way away from where it supposedly came from. So it came from over there and it just washed in the water. Excuse me, the water flows downstream only. There wasn't a mega quake that pushed water upstream. No, the water was all coming down out of the mountains. A total of 30 inches or darn near a meter within 3 days in some of those places, when they don't normally get that much rain in a full year. And some of the locations may have got 10 inches in a flipping hour. This house here is not in a floodplain of any sort, not a 100-year, not a 500-year floodplain. I'm paying FEMA through a flood insurance company for flood insurance on this house because I have seen what 10 inches of rain in 1 hour will do. I took part in trying to repair a small bridge by filling bags of the gravel that washed out and stacking ready-mixed concrete, cement bags to try to make it so the people could get back home from work or the others could actually leave home because it happened while most folks were gone to work. So I'm paying FEMA to take care of flood victims who have flood insurance. And most of those folks don't have flood insurance, but it sounds like the ones that do were not even being taken care of either. They're supposedly worried about cleaning up the environment. In my opinion, they're trying to hurry up and rebuild the roads to get mining equipment in there. And it's not just lithium and cobalt, maybe even uranium, but there is gold in them there hills, folks. There's gold, there's quartz, and quite possibly diamonds throughout the Appalachian Mountains. And it's much like the other lithium vein that's been found through part of Texas, across through a little bit of Louisiana and Arkansas, and further east, and right in or beside which Dallas area is trying to have a major lake built by taking land away from farmers and ranchers that are feeding us in order to build a lake to have enough water for Dallas-Fort Worth, which is a load of crap. There's other ways to get the water. We can use desalination that will take lithium, cobalt, uranium, and other rare earth minerals directly out of the salt water of the Gulf of Mexico, just like the noodleheads in California could be doing instead of stealing water from the Midwest that needs to be growing food for us also. And just like the New England states can be doing, and any other country that has a coastline with salt water. You need to check the people that are supposedly representing you. You need to speak up to them, please. You can go to freedomrestorationfoundation.org, click on the Action tab for the Action Center page, scroll down to the bottom, and it shows you how to contact anybody and everybody who is supposed to represent you. And it also directly provides you the phone number for the switchboard of U.S. Congress to speak up to them for any amendments to the Constitution that need to be made, but also to tell them to stop letting the Jackwagon Joe administration launch missiles over into Russia in order to further instigate problems. You know, it's no wonder that AT&T and Cricket was having phone issues the other day. And most likely they were cyber attacked throughout the region that I was operating in, where I didn't have jack squat for several hours. Anyway, thanks for your time. I've got to get stuff done so I can clean up and go help family prepare an anniversary party. So, happy Thanksgiving, folks. Please be a blessing to others any way you can. Within my Hurricane Helene devastation in Appalachia playlist are numerous channels of organizations that are working over there and helping folks. His Glory TV has taken part in sending people for cleanup and for building those tiny homes that they're trying to evict the people out of while it's freezing there. It's dropping below freezing. Soon the temperatures will be dropping below 0 Fahrenheit. So, yeah, it is what it is. You know, the people shouldn't have to try to live in a doghouse, but a double wall plywood doghouse is a damn sight better than a summer tent from Walmart that somebody donated them with all their little kids, or these folks in their 70s and 80s trying to survive just another winter. So, happy day. Please be a blessing to others any way you can.